Here.
Mayor Davis.
Here.
Councilman Trutzel.
Here.
Commissioner McDonough. Commissioner Monahan Bass.
Here.
Commissioner McPherson.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson. And Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Ashley. This time I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the June 8th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second to approve the meetings. Are there any corrections and amendments? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved. That takes us up to agenda item 4A and 4B, both non-public hearings. 4A is consideration of a final development plan for Southview Commerce Center, Building 3, located on South Outer Road, just north of 162nd Street. Director Clements?
Thank you, Chairman. As you stated, as follow-up to your introduction, this is a final development plan for Southview Commerce Center, Building 3. Planning Commission may recall the preliminary plan and original rezoning for Southview Commerce Center was approved by the City Council in June of 2018. Shortly after that approval by the Council, there was a final development plan for Building 1 reviewed by the Planning Commission on October 15th. And then building 1 is this building. And then Building 2 was reviewed by the Planning Commission on April 22nd, 2019. The application before us this evening is for Building 3, and this is a building proposed for just north of 160th Street. Now, the plan set in the packet there's a 14-page plan set by the consulting architect, Olson. I've tried to make it real simple. I've got two colored drawings here that I think are going to tell you everything you need to know. The original plan provided for 3 individual buildings north of 160th Street. And those are the buildings I have circled here, buildings 2, 3, and buildings 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, thank you. These buildings are all oriented in a north-south fashion, and this building at the easternmost portion had loading areas and trailer parking facing near the homes on Allen Street, oriented towards Allen Street. So the proposed revised plan before the Planning Commission tonight and the related final development plan with all the details on development is here. Now this is oriented in a different fashion, but buildings 3, 4, and 5 are all combined into a new building 3. And that building 3 is also oriented now in an east-west fashion, which eliminates the trailer parking and loading areas from facing east in the single-family homes on Allen Street. And that's something that the staff has always felt was really very important, would be beneficial to those residents. The Planning Commission might recall that the same thing occurred with Building 2. Building 2, that building was oriented in an east-west fashion, and the applicant came by and came before the Planning Commission and turned that building to this configuration. So now I think you've got a really nice, concise land plan with all 3 buildings facing Interstate 49, and I think all 3 buildings will have a really nice presence for interstate traffic with that common architecture and design. Building 3 is proposed at initially at 796,000 square feet, which is the area in yellow, and there is a future expansion area of 215,000 square feet. One thing that is important to emphasize is that the square footage proposed for Building 3 is essentially the same as the 3 buildings on the preliminary plan. So the square footage remains the same. The building is not being any larger, so there should not be any negative impact on adjoining properties due to a larger square footage. The building design, building elevations were in the packet. The Building 3 will be similar to Buildings 1 and 2. These will be concrete panels poured on site, finished with a cement-based acrylic coating. And the frontage of the building, similar to Buildings 1 and 2, have transparent glass and anodized frames most prominent west elevations facing I-49. The proposed Building 3 has a required articulation along the elevation of the building. One change with Building 3 is that the main entrance is at the center of this building. A prospective tenant wanted to have all the employees and all the visitors come in at one central access point. That does differ from Buildings 1 and 2. These buildings had potential office entries and towers at the corners. So that is a slight difference. You won't necessarily know that driving by. One enhancement with that entry in the center is that Building 3 now is going to have more transparent glass facing Interstate 49. So I think it's going to give it a really nicer office presence than you have with Buildings 1 and 2. So there's a benefit to the reverse plan at that point. The proposed Building 3 on the 60-acre site does meet the open space requirements. Parking is sufficient. The Planning Commission might remember that North Point proposed a reduced parking ratio with the original rezoning and preliminary plan, and the parking allocation with Building 3 and the parking allocations of existing 1 and 2 all meet that parking allocation that North Point brought forward. Final landscaping plan was submitted. It does meet the requirements of the development code. Continuation of the berm along the east side of the property, and construction of a new berm along the north side from the future single-family homes to the north. The landscaping does include very attractive plantings and a 6-foot board-on-board fence at certain intervals along the berm, providing a nice design element that we think it enhances the appeal of the berms. The plan does provide for the continuation of stormwater management that was proposed. There's a large detention basin here behind Buildings 1 and 2. This large detention basin behind Building 3. Those are existing now, and Building 3 will just generally utilize that existing basin for stormwater management as designed with the overall original plan. The Southview Commerce Center also features a multi-use trail. That trail was initially designed with Buildings 1 and 2. It kind of circulates around in this fashion. Building 3 will include a trail that will wrap around the building and tie back at this point here. So you have a very nice trail network as an outdoor recreational amenity for the employees in the park. That kind of concludes the staff recommendation. Again, we have 14 pages of technical drawings. We could get into those if the Planning Commission has questions. I thought these two colored plans really simplified the concept of what's proposed this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is present for some brief comments if the Planning Commission has questions.
Thank you, Dave, for taking us through the report.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions for staff? Mayor?
Do we feel like there's enough detention to capture enough of the water that it's not going to hurt anybody off this backside?
Oh, yes, sir, absolutely.
I've seen it doing it on the front side. Is it plenty on the backside?
You mean the backside, meaning
On the east side.
oh, yes. Yeah, so that pond actually is the original, oh, sorry. Can you hear me? I'm not talking loud. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, that pond, it basically is the equivalent of the previous pond, right? And so we did go back through and double check all the calculations to make sure the impervious area would be able to capture. Again, this building is essentially the same size as the three previous buildings in the summation of the parking lots. And we also have the basin there on the left side of the plan, on the west side of the plan, that helps capture that parking lot area.
It's a lot bigger than it looks here.
The pond?
All of it. The detention, I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't know how many gallons of water or
You know, I don't know that number off the top of my head in terms of the gallons or the physical capacity in terms of volume, but rest assured, yeah, the calculations have been ran through many times. We know the concerns of the citizens, particularly to the east, and then back through the south with the drainage. So we're very aware of that requirement, of course, on all of our projects, but definitely in this case, the sensitivity with the neighbors. So.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Councilman?
Yes, sir.
Where do these drain to?
The ponds?
Yeah, the ponds.
Yeah, they just like they always have, that whole site, kind of the watershed, it drains down into, back to the south through the creek.
To the south.
Yeah.
Our
Okay.
backyard.
Commissioner?
I know one of the concerns when the development was going in was about traffic and traffic patterns and all. I really appreciate the fact that we are moving the trucks away from the neighborhood and getting those over to the sides. With having one, and I see the parking is in the front, will that affect traffic flow or traffic patterns any from what we are previously expecting?
Yeah, great question. So this plan is, I would say, a little dated. Things are moving pretty quickly. As David indicated, that there's a prospective tenant that you guys may be aware of in terms of what's going on there. So we've been tweaking the building a bit. The building itself is pretty much the same, but to I guess it would account for the traffic and that many cars, if you will. There is a coming out of the center of that building, kind of in line with the separated parking. I don't know if can I do this, or are you driving, Dave? You're driving, thank you. Yeah, so right there will be an entrance right there that's going to be, I would say, similar to the entrance for 160th Street to help with that traffic flow in and out. And there will also be another entrance up to the north side. So that pond has actually been reconfigured a little bit. It's been increased in size, actually, to not to necessarily to accompany additional drainage expected, but just to capture some. We had a little bit of land when we pulled the edge around to the north, so we went ahead and created some additional detention there. But there will be two entrances onto the outer road, and so that was the initial thought from the civil engineer, and we've since followed up with a traffic study, which the city now has, and it's under review, to look at all the things the traffic study looks at: line of sight, the in and out flow, stacking, all those great things. So what we did learn from that, and again, the city has it for review now, but the recommendations as far as the traffic was there would be no need to increase the width of the outer road to can accompany the traffic, that we were definitely going to have two outbound from that main entrance in the middle, so a car could turn left and a car could turn right, and it wouldn't stack up from that perspective. So,
Thanks.
And those driveways are shown on the final development plan. The concept sketch doesn't have that level of detail, but they're all in the packet there for you, Tom.
yeah, they're all behind the drawing here.
Are there any other questions or need for clarification? Yes, Mayor.
Sir?
And it says future expansion, 215,760 feet. They'll make it over what?
It'd be approximately 1 million square feet
Right,
total.
1
Million square feet. And how many jobs? That's not the public works, I'm sorry, the planning and zoning, but how many jobs goes with that first addition?
I think the job projection is about 600.
That's per shift.
Okay. And then per shift.
You may have some better data than I would even, but
12 to 16.
yeah, we've been tracking around 13 on average, 1,300 on average. And we would expect a surge in certain holiday seasons on top of that, in terms of jobs.
Yes, Commissioner.
I guess one other question I do have, since going from 3 buildings to 1, the original plan with the 3, and it kind of goes back to the traffic again, but thinking again, the large truck traffic, since it sounds like this would be one company that would be taking over that one
That's
space.
correct. That's right.
Will that influence or actually reduce truck traffic, because instead of having 3 separate businesses that could have been in 3 buildings, is this going to reduce that truck traffic so that we're just dealing with one, even though it may be a larger company, but
Sure.
Is-
Yeah, great question. So we're not anticipating it to be additional trucks than it would be otherwise. One thing to look at is we typically build our buildings as a spec. We're a spec developer. We like to lease buildings, obviously, and we've been pretty good. We love this park, by the way. This is really, I'm not just saying this because I'm standing here today, but this is really one of our most favorite parks that we have. Everything about it's just been tremendous. The leasing's been tremendous. So just everything about it's been great. The visibility to the interstate, it's all been just very wonderful. But as it relates to the spec versus the build-to-suit perspective on the dock side, so as we build these buildings, we plan them as a spec, and we typically plan one dock per 10,000 square feet. So what does that really mean? That really basically means this particular building is being planned with 73 to 75 docks, and it's 800,000 square feet out of the gate. So from an actual dock door position, then we look at on average we usually see 2 turns per day is what we estimate. And when we go into other calculations as it relates to pavement and traffic flows and shifts and all that kind of stuff, so we're not anticipating any more than 2 turns per day, and we're right at or just below 1 dock per 10,000. So it's very similar to a spec program as it relates to that from that perspective. So back to the original question, that was what our original plan was.
Okay,
And, yeah.
great, thanks.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Okay, no, good questions. We appreciate them.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have any further questions from the commission or points of clarification? If there is no further discussion, do I have a motion? Councilman Trutzel?
Motion to approve the final development plan for Southview Commerce Center, Building 3.
All right, I do have a motion to approve from Councilman Trutzel and a seconded by Commissioner Bass. Before we proceed to vote, one final call for questions. Hearing none, we'll move to vote at this time. Commissioner McPherson?
Aye.
Commissioner Bass? Aye. Commissioner Warren? Aye. Mayor Davis?
Aye.
Councilman Trutzel?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well, and the motion is approved. All right, that does take us to item 4B, and this is consideration of a final plat for the same property for Southview Commerce Center South, third plat located on South Outer Road, just north of 162nd Street. Director.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the final plat for the proposed Building 3. I have the copy of the plat drawing on the overhead for you. This depicts the 60-acre site necessary to accommodate the proposed Building 3. The plan provides a location of a dedicated tract here for additional stormwater management here as part of the tract. And again, the existing basins are to the east, and they were previously dedicated with Building 2. The plat meets all requirements of our code in terms of easement language. No additional right-of-way is necessary with this plat or dedication. And the staff does recommend approval of the plat. This will have to go on to the City Council for the City Council authorization, but that will then complete all the work on Building 3 with the building, the final development plan, and the plat.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or discussion on this item? Councilman Trutzel?
Move for the approval of the final plat for Southview Commerce Center.
I do have a motion to
Second.
approve from Councilman Trutzel and a second from Commissioner McPherson. As always, one final call for questions before we proceed to vote. We will proceed to vote at this time. Commissioner McPherson?
Aye.
Commissioner Bass? Commissioner Warren? Mayor Davis?
Aye.
Councilman Trutzel?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The motion is approved. Wonderful, great project. Thank you for all the work that went in on this. And thank you, Carolyn Yatsik, for your persistency a few years ago.
Yeah, thank you all very much. We are just incredibly blessed to be here with you guys in the city. The projects have just been amazing. The staff has been amazing. Everything has been so incredibly cooperative. We just couldn't be more pleased that in 2 short years, we're standing here with basically ready to start and complete the 3rd building, so,
It's been very exciting.
yeah.
And I can assure you, we feel very blessed as well.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Councilman?
I would like to say that we're happy that you're here and chose our city to do your work in. Your buildings are beautiful.
Thank you.
Your vision is great. What can I say? I just really, really impressed. And I was impressed when I saw your buildings several years ago over in North Kansas City. I thought, wow, this is supposed to be a manufacturing building, look like an office. You know, I just really impressed, and quality product.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we try our best, and you know, the original plan was had the buildings turned the other way, and we always say that we always guess wrong. We guess wrong a lot in the business that we do, and we also say it always ends up working out at the end. So this particular case, the 3 buildings geometrically are really perfectly aligned, in my opinion. I'm an engineer by degree and by previous practice, so I like everything kind of orderly in that regard. You know, with the office frontage facing both the prominent directions, truck courts shielding the truck courts, and just the ability to work with staff, particularly through this last phase with this last building, and change things, and with the center entry and all those things that the director was speaking to. It's just been super, super great to be able to come and speak with staff and work through those items effectively and efficiently to get us here where we are today. So thank you so very much for everything y'all done for us so far.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. All right, well, I do not typically have a chairman's report. Hardly ever had I had a chairman's report, but I do have one tonight, so bear with me. I just want to say that it is with a bittersweet heart that I am publicly announcing my resignation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. I've actually been working towards this moment for some time, knowing that my commission would be renewing in August, and so it is time for me to step aside and pursue other things. I'm leaning hardcore into some ministry projects that I'm very excited about, and I'm excited to finally be able to open up a bit of my time to pursue that in a much more permanent way. So what I'm excited about, y'all, is that I know that I leave this commission strong, experienced, and in very capable hands. It has been my great pleasure to have served on this board for the past 15 years, alongside so many thoughtful, committed, and passionate individuals who love our city, and to serve as the chairperson for the nearly last 11 of those 15 years. I can't even believe that, really. I can honestly say that I joined this commission with nothing more than the simple desire to serve my community, with little to no understanding of the processes of city planning. Through the patience of some past commission members, they took me under their wings, provided invaluable tutelage to me through my own hours of reading, researching, and trying to learn this business, and through countless conversations with various staff members over the years, I think I have maybe begun to grasp the complexities of city planning. So, and indeed, I think I will emphasize that the challenges involved with planning for and running a growing, dynamic, vibrant, modern city. I am so grateful for the city leaders that I've served with and under, and for each of you as you continue to pursue a diverse, exciting, and visionary path for our great city. Thank you, everyone. So at this time, we need to hold election of officers, because this is my final meeting. And we will certainly open the floor, but I would just like to say at this time, I would like to nominate Tom Mcpherson for chairperson. And as I said, we are, and I would appreciate a second for that if anyone feels led. And the floor is open for any other nominations.
Chairman. Well, this
Pardon?
might be your last one for me to say, Chairman. You've done a great job, and I'd be remiss for everybody to talk about when you start looking back and reflecting on all the things that have come through here during your reign here, to see how accelerated it has been in our city to making the transition from a town to a city. It's pretty spectacular. You got to know you've had a big part of holding on to those reins in keeping us from beating each other up in some of these meetings
There
through
have
the
been a
years.
few
that
interesting
have-
meetings, I will admit to that.
Pretty intense. But your legacy, you can go around, drive around and look and say, hey, I had a part in that, grandkids. I had a part of this.
I look forward to sharing some stories with the boys as they get a little older. But
But
it's a
the-
shared legacy with so many that have gone before me and who will continue to serve after me. And I couldn't be prouder to have called this our home for 30 years.
Amen. So I seconded that. Did you get that, Secretary? Okay.
Are there any other nominations from the floor? All right, hearing none, we will close nominations at this time. And at this time, we will proceed to vote for Tom McPherson for position of Chairman of Planning and Zoning Commission. Mayor Davis,
Aye.
Councilman Trutzel,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren, Commissioner Bass, Commissioner McPherson,
Abstain.
and the chair most wholeheartedly votes aye, and the motion is approved. Welcome, Chairman.
Good luck.
Thank you. I think.
And now I give you Director Clements with his report.
Thank you, former chairman. Just a couple quick mentions. I want to make sure the planning commission knew that the city council completed their work on the North Point Apartments on 163rd Street there at Turner Road. The planning commission worked very hard on that. Went on to the city council for the rezoning, various incentives, and the city council has wrapped up that work. So I wanted to report that that's moved to conclusion, and we hope to see some initial construction in 2021 with those apartments. Also, just a brief mention, the Planning Commission may recall several months ago we had an agenda item for Autumn Ridge that was on the agenda, a preliminary plat, kind of reinstating a preliminary plat that had lapsed, and that was withdrawn from the agenda the night of the meeting. There were some issues that had to be worked through, and the applicant has been working through those. And I'm happy to say they've resolved those things, so that'll be coming back to the Planning Commission at the next meeting with a very nice revised plan that addresses all the concerns that we were working with. So that'll be at a meeting to be determined. We're working with them really on a schedule at this point. So just had those two updates for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I am incredibly disappointed that Commissioner McDonough is not here tonight to give me my final motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn,
Yes, sir.
could we get a picture of her last meeting where we gotta keep our space so that we can have her in the middle and we can get a little closer where we can get everybody together?
I'd be glad to.
Thank you, Mayor. That's very nice.
Just a Chairwoman Gergen, but let's, yes,
But how will we
social
do that?
distance, please, so we don't have to do anything about it.
Yeah, and I'll wear my mask.
Yeah, that's
We don't have masks in a group picture.
Asks for the picture.
I'm tall, I'll stand in the back.
I'll get in the back.
Yeah, you guys come up here.
Are you talking about short people in front?
Short people.
I think
Should I
six
take
months
this
before
off?
there.
I don't think so, Eric.
I don't know, RJ, we're both on this side.
I
It
know.
might be.
Here.
You can bop somebody in the head.
all right, I took about 5.
Will you kindly share one or two of those with me, Carolyn? Thank you. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Bass, seconded by Councilman Trutzel. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. It's been amazing.
Congratulations, Holly.